She didn't even look at me when she said it, just pulled the blanket higher and repeated, almost bored, that it was not tonight again. Emily lay on her side, back to me, phone lighting up the dark bedroom with soft blue flashes. I stood there for a second longer than I should have, waiting for something else. A touch, a half smile, anything that sounded like us. Instead, she said she had an early run and needed sleep. In the morning, I watched her lace up new running shoes I had not seen before. She moved carefully, like her body suddenly mattered again. She adjusted her fitness watch, checked her reflection in the hallway mirror, and left with a quick wave that felt rehearsed. I am a systems analyst. My life runs on structure, shipping timelines, route optimization, quarterly targets. I track patterns for a living. And patterns had started changing. Her "not tonight" had become a routine, always tied to sore muscles, long shifts at the service desk, feeling disconnected from her body. But every morning she had energy for those runs. They started short, then longer, then long enough that dinner plans needed to shift around them. A week later, I saw his name pop up on her screen while she was in the shower. Ryan. Just a first name, a running emoji next to it. I did not open the message. I did not ask who he was. That evening, when I reached for her again, and she gently pushed my hand away, she said she just needed space to feel like herself. I nodded. And for the first time, I stopped trying to feel like her husband. A few days later, I met him without meaning to. I had stopped by the park near our house to take a call from the logistics team. Emily's shift had ended early, and she had texted that she was squeezing in a quick run before dinner. From the parking lot, I saw them before they saw me. Ryan stood too close. He was lean, sunburned, wearing a sleeveless performance shirt with the gym logo across his chest. His hand rested lightly on her lower back while he demonstrated something about posture. She laughed at something he said, head tilted back, open in a way I had not seen in months. I stayed inside my car and watched them start jogging side by side. Not touching, not obviously crossing any lines. Just synchronized. Familiar. That night, she talked about him at dinner. She said her trainer believed she had real potential. She said he pushed her in ways she needed. She said running made her feel alive again. She did not look at me when she said that. Later, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was loading the dishwasher. A message preview lit up the screen. Ryan had written that she crushed it today and that he was proud of her. Proud. I did not comment. I did not ask why a trainer texted that late. I just dried my hands and went back to my laptop. For the first time, I understood something without proof. I was no longer competing with exhaustion. I was competing with attention. I did not need to search hard. Patterns surface on their own when you stop looking away. Emily started showering the second she got home from her runs. Her fitness tracker, once synced automatically to the tablet in our kitchen, began showing gaps. The route maps cut off before the cool-down stretch. The last 20 minutes were blank, as if her body had stopped existing. One evening, she left her phone on the couch while grabbing a towel from the dryer. A notification slid across the screen. Ryan again. This time there was no emoji. Just a short line saying he loved how focused she was lately, that private sessions were paying off. Private sessions. I did not unlock the phone. I did not need to. The tone had shifted. Professional language does not linger like that. At dinner she mentioned adding extra mileage on weekends. She said he believed she could train for something bigger. She spoke about him the way clients used to speak about her when she first started at the service desk. Energized, seen, validated. Later that week, I reviewed our joint account to pay a credit card. There were new charges from a boutique fitness studio downtown. Not the park. Not the public trail. A studio. She had told me they only met outdoors. I closed the laptop slowly. That night, when she rolled away and said she felt disconnected from her body, I watched the ceiling and finally stopped reaching for her at all. I did not confront her. Instead, I changed my calendar. At work, a senior manager mentioned a new logistics expansion project that required travel. Long days on site. Late returns. It was the kind of assignment I used to decline because Emily preferred predictable evenings. I told him I was in. That same week, I reactivated an old professional certification course I had postponed for years. Evening sessions, group workshops, networking mixers. I added them to my schedule without discussing it. When Emily texted one afternoon asking if I could pick up groceries because she had an extended run, I replied that I had a client dinner and would not make it. I did not apologize. The house began to shift. My laptop stayed open at the dining table. My gym bag appeared by the door. I started waking up before her and leaving without waiting for coffee together. She noticed, but only in passing. One night, she mentioned that I had been busy lately. She said it lightly, like an observation. I told her the project was demanding and that it felt good to focus on growth again. She nodded, distracted, her phone lighting up beside her plate. A few days later, I came home later than usual. The lights were off in the living room. Her car was in the driveway, but her tracker showed no activity logged. When she finally walked in, flushed and quiet, she said the run had gone long. I looked at her, then at the clock on the stove. I did not ask anything. I simply turned off the kitchen light and went upstairs without waiting. The next shift did not happen at home. It happened in public. A colleague of hers, Megan, ran into me at a coffee shop near my office. She asked how Emily was liking her new, intense training schedule. The way she said it carried something unspoken. She mentioned seeing Emily downtown near the performance studio, not in workout gear, just talking outside with a guy she assumed was the trainer. She said they looked close. I thanked her and changed the subject. That evening, I did something I rarely do. I drove past the studio after one of her longer sessions. The front windows were tinted, but the side entrance was visible from the parking lot across the street. I did not wait long. Emily came out first, hair loose, not tied back for a run. Ryan followed a few steps behind. He touched her elbow as he spoke, leaned in slightly, and she did not step away. They stood there longer than necessary for scheduling or feedback. When he finally walked to his truck, she stayed by her car, smiling at her phone before getting in. I left before she could see me. At home, I packed a small suitcase for the upcoming work trip. Extra shirts, my laptop charger, documents. She asked if the travel was becoming permanent. I told her it was becoming important. She watched me zip the bag and said she hoped it was worth it. I met her eyes for a second and said that it already was. Travel changed the rhythm completely. I stopped checking whether she was home. I stopped timing my calls around her schedule. When I landed in another city for the expansion project, I let my phone stay face down during dinner with the team. If she texted, I answered hours later. If she called, I returned it the next morning. At home on weekends, I no longer rearranged my calendar for her shifts. If she said she had a long run planned, I already had something booked. A networking event, a certification workshop, drinks with a former colleague I had not seen in years. The house felt different when I walked through it. Cleaner, quieter, less charged. We moved around each other like tenants. One evening, she stood in the kitchen doorway while I was reviewing shipping forecasts on my laptop. She asked where I had been the previous night. She said I had not mentioned dinner plans. I told her I had been downtown with people who valued my time. She did not like the tone. A few days later, I noticed something else. Her tracker had resumed syncing fully. No more missing segments. The boutique studio charges stopped appearing in our account, but she still left early in the mornings. When I came back from my next trip, she was waiting in the living room instead of heading out. She asked where I kept disappearing to. I told her I was going where I was expected, and for the first time, she did not have a response ready. She started coming home earlier. The morning runs shortened. The new shoes stayed by the door longer than usual. One evening, her phone buzzed on the counter while we were both in the kitchen. She glanced at the screen, and for a second I saw something close to irritation instead of excitement. She flipped the phone face down. Later that week, I heard her in the bedroom speaking in a low voice. Not laughing, not light, just clipped sentences. When she walked out, her expression was tight, controlled. She said the trainer was adjusting his client's schedule and might not be available as often. I nodded, still reviewing an email about an upcoming site visit. A few days passed. No more studio charges. No more late returns. The runs became solitary again. One afternoon, she stood by my desk while I was on a video call with the regional team. I muted the microphone and looked at her. She asked if we could have dinner together that night. Just us, like we used to. I told her I already had plans. She asked with who. I said colleagues. She held my gaze longer than she had in months. There was no accusation in her eyes, just confusion. The kind that comes when control slips quietly. That night, when I came home, she was sitting in the dark living room. She said she felt like I was drifting away. I told her I had simply stopped waiting. She did not argue. She just looked smaller in that room than I had ever seen her. The confrontation came quietly. No raised voices. No slammed doors. Just a Saturday evening with no plans on my calendar and nowhere urgent to be. Emily sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug that had gone cold. She said she felt like we were strangers sharing a house. She said she did not recognize me anymore. She asked when I stopped trying. I did not answer the last question. Instead, I asked when she had started needing someone else to feel alive. She froze. Not dramatic, just still. She said it had not meant to become anything. She said the run started as a way to clear her head. She said the attention felt good after months of feeling invisible. She described it as something that grew gradually, not planned, not malicious. She did not deny that it crossed a line. I listened without interrupting. I did not ask for details. I did not need them. She said it was over now, that it had ended quickly, that she realized it was shallow. I told her I had already noticed when the studio charges stopped and the tracker gaps disappeared. That was when she understood I had known for a while. She asked why I had not fought. I told her I do not compete for a position that should already be mine. Silence filled the space between us. For the first time, she looked like she was the one trying to reach across it. After that night, the house grew even quieter. She stopped talking about running altogether. The shoes disappeared into the closet. Her mornings were slower, almost cautious. She began waiting for me in the evenings, asking what time I would be home, whether I would join her for dinner, whether we could plan something for the weekend. I answered politely, but without rearranging anything. At work, the expansion project gained momentum. My name was attached to new presentations. I stayed late without guilt. When invitations came for industry mixers or small leadership dinners, I accepted them without checking her schedule first. One evening, I walked in to find her scrolling through old photos on the living room TV. Pictures from trips we had taken, holidays with friends, moments when we looked aligned. She said she missed how simple it used to feel. I told her it had only felt simple because I carried most of it. She did not argue. She just nodded, as if the weight of that statement settled somewhere heavy. A few days later, she mentioned that Ryan had moved on to a different client focus, that their communication had stopped completely. She said it carefully, watching my face for a reaction. I gave her none. The shift had already happened. Her connection ended quietly, without drama. But what unsettled her more was that I did not rush back in to fill the space. For the first time since we met, she was the one waiting. The last shift did not look dramatic from the outside. It was just another evening. I was packing for another work trip, folding shirts with the same precision I use for project timelines. Emily stood by the dresser, watching. She said she understood now. She said she had confused attention with connection. She said when I stopped rearranging my life around her, she finally felt what absence actually meant. I zipped the suitcase halfway and looked at her. She stepped closer, not touching me, just close enough to make the distance visible. She said she did not want to lose the marriage over something that had already burned out. She admitted that "not tonight" had not been about exhaustion. It had been about redirecting energy she did not know how to explain. I did not raise my voice. I did not list what I had seen. I told her I had not disappeared. I had simply stopped showing up where I was not respected. She nodded slowly. I told her that if anything continued between us, it would not be built on convenience. I would not compete for space in my own home. I would not be the fallback plan when something else lost its shine. There were no promises made that night. Just a pause. I picked up the suitcase and walked past her toward the door. This time, she was the one asking whether I would be back soon. I did not answer. I just left, knowing that wherever I chose to return, it would be on my terms.